Hello, David Drogan, History of Art. So we were looking at multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary curriculum. Our challenge statement is, many of our interviewees mentioned that the FIT curriculum is relatively narrow and specialized, and that many or most students confine their studies within the primary field of study. As a result, they lack breadth of knowledge and understanding of how adjacent or related fields may view the same subjects and topics. This leaves them vulnerable to shifts in industry structure and relatively ill-prepared to adapt to or innovate within a changing market economy. To address this concern, it has also been widely agreed that the curriculum must include a greater emphasis, much greater emphasis, on multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary studies. So let me step over here. For a goal statement, this first bullet point is sort of two things: to have greater curriculum flexibility, and to have more and even required interdisciplinary team-taught courses. It'd be great to have more of those, but until students have the room and the flexibility in their curriculum to take those courses, sometimes, as is already happening, they don't enroll enough and they don't run. So more flexibility within major area courses and major requirements, and then more and even possibly required interdisciplinary courses. For registration, in this point, what we were thinking of is that you really get multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approach when you have students from lots of different areas together in the classroom. And so if there's a way as a goal to, in the registration process, ensure where possible that there's a good mix of students in classes, particularly in electives and potentially in a freshman experience course. So for instance, in an elective course in registration, if there were a way to limit so that you wouldn't, like in some of my classes, have a room where every single student is from the same major, even if it's an elective course, and that would really get students to, in their participation in class, engage in more interdisciplinary ways of thinking. For barriers, again, the rigidity of curriculum and the lack of flexibility was something that came up right away, and that prevents opportunities for independent study, which could encourage interdisciplinary thinking, personal options, and again, more options for co-taught classes or interdisciplinary subjects. And another barrier is something we identified as a kind of tunnel vision. I think both on the part of students and faculty at times, where people come in, let's say a student comes into a major and is really, really focused, to their credit, on accomplishing, learning those skills, pursuing that industry, but sometimes, unfortunately, that leads to not having an open mind in terms of how other kinds of topics and disciplines and study could inform what they're doing. And then sometimes this happens with faculty too, that they're so focused on their particular area of expertise and teaching in a certain way, or encouraging students to follow a certain kind of curricular path, that it sometimes closes doors to more interdisciplinary ways of thinking. And some other barriers that have already been mentioned, challenges of the curriculum approval and implementation and follow-up process. Again, thinking specifically in our case about interdisciplinary classes, sometimes faculty are discouraged from developing or running those because of the bureaucratic hurdles that are involved with getting it through curriculum approval, but then also following up with different kinds of assessments that are involved. So in terms of goals, a very short-term and relatively easy goal we had was to encourage faculty to focus on interdisciplinary approaches when creating or updating curriculum, whether it's coming up with new classes, even ones that are standard courses, not co-taught classes, or updating curriculum of existing classes, to always have an eye on what could interdisciplinary approaches be where applicable in different kinds of subjects. Medium-term goals. One thing that's always ongoing is program review every 7 years for major areas, and considering interdisciplinarity as part of the major review could be something that's both a medium and long-term goal, because everyone's doing those. We're doing one right now. Everyone does them every 7 years. And then sort of more long-term goals, thinking more abstractly a little bit, is fostering a campus-wide culture of interdisciplinary education to overcome some of those barriers we were talking about before, particularly in terms of tunnel vision. Space, which I think is on every one of these, and maybe having a freshman and also a third-year experience course or activity for students. And one thing on a kind of really interesting potential thought was, if you had students together in a freshman experience course, what if they were staying that long, those same exact students were in the same class again in their third year to kind of revisit some of the ideas and experiences and proposals and things they had the first time around. So, did I forget anything? Okay, I think that's it. Thanks.